Chairman, I believe we are now live. I'll hand over to you to open the meeting.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Planning Committee South meeting of Tuesday, the 26th of May, 2020. I'm Councillor Debbie McCallum, the Chairman of Planning Committee South, and I'll be chairing today's meeting of Planning Committee South. A few housekeeping points. In order to satisfy the regulations that allow us to hold meetings remotely during the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting is being broadcast live to the public via the East Suffolk Council YouTube channel. Before turning to the main business on today's agenda, I would like to explain that during the discussion of the items and the determination of planning applications, the committee member will raise their hands virtually, and I will invite them to speak in order. Members of the public will not be able to see when a member has raised their hand virtually, but this will be clearly displayed to myself and Matt Macon, the officer acting as the meeting host. At the appropriate time, speakers will be invited to address the committee. You'll be allowed 3 minutes. This will be timed by Matt, and you will be muted at the end of those 3 minutes. But councillors can ask questions. Ward members will be allowed longer at my discretion. The officer's recommendation will be clearly detailed in the presentation for each planning application. And at the conclusion of the report presentation, public speaking and debate on each application. I will seek a proposer and a seconder for the officer's recommendation. If this is not proposed and seconded, I will then ask for an alternative recommendation from the committee. When a recommendation has been proposed and seconded, Catherine Abbott, who is clerking this meeting, will ask each committee member to indicate how they wish to vote on the recommendation. Please indicate clearly if you are voting for or against or abstaining. Catherine will then declare if the recommendation has been agreed or not. Only Planning Committee South members can vote on committee matters. Finally, I'd like to remind those public speakers admitted to the meeting that although this is a meeting, it's open to the public, it is not a public meeting, and would ask that you do not interrupt proceedings by calling out or otherwise interrupting those members, officers, and speakers addressing the committee. If a member of the public continues to interrupt proceedings, despite being asked not to do so, I will ask the meeting host to remove them from the Zoom meeting, and if necessary, I will adjourn the meeting until order is restored. Thank you. These are different times and this is a different way of doing things, but we are continuing with business. We go on to agenda item 1. Do we have any apologies for absence or substitutions, please, Catherine?
Thank you, Chairman. We have not been notified of any apologies for absence for today's meeting.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. The best way of doing this will be, Catherine, will you ask?
Just if any members of the committee have any declarations of interest for any of the items on the agenda, and just to remind you to declare if at any point during the course of the meeting you will realise that you have a declaration to make.
I've got Councillor Mike Deacon. Would you like that? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I must declare an interest in item number 6, that's DC 19/5049, the Felixstowe Ferry Golf Club application, and I do so as a member of Felixstowe Town Council.
Thank you, Councillor Deacon. Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In respect of item 6, member of Felixstowe Town Council, and also as at last week, chairman of the Town Council Planning Environment Committee. If Catherine could note that, because previously I have declared as vice chairman, but it's now chairman of Planning and Environment. And also in respect of item 8, I wish to declare that I'm county councillor for Felixstowe North and Trimleys, which obviously includes the parish in which the application 8 is.
Councillor Allen.
I declare a pecuniary interest in item 8 for Sprites Hall Lane, as I am a director of the Alston Homes Building Company.
Thank you very much. I'm being asked, have we had a roll call? Were we supposed to do a roll call? That's not on my sheet as yet.
Yes, please, Chairman, if I could just confirm who is present here today. So members of the committee, if I can call your names alphabetically, could you please respond to confirm that you are present? Thank you. Councillor Allen. If you could just confirm that you're here, Councillor Allen. I know I can see you, but just for the people at home.
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Bird.
Present.
Councillor Blundell.
Present.
Councillor Cooper.
Chairman, I've just this minute received a message from Councillor Cooper, who's had to leave the meeting. Unfortunately, engineers have disrupted his internet connection.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Deacon.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Fryatt.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Councillor Hedgley.
Yes, present.
Councillor McCallum.
Present.
And Councillor Newell.
I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Right, we're going on to agenda item number 3, which is declarations of lobbying and responses to lobbying. So could I have hands up for anybody that have any declarations of lobbying or responses to lobbying? Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have been lobbied in respect of item 6. I have not responded to any of the lobbying.
I also have been lobbied in relation to item 6, and I also have not responded. Councillor Deacon.
I have been lobbied in respect of item 6, and I have written to acknowledge receipt of the message and noted the remarks therein.
Can I ask those that have been speaking to lower their hands after they've spoken, please? That's Councillor Bird and Councillor Deacon. Councillor Yule.
I have been lobbied on item 6.
Thank you. Councillor Hedgley.
I have been lobbied on item 6. I have responded by telling them that I have received their email.
Councillor Allen.
I have been lobbied on item 6 and I have not responded.
Thank you very much. Can I ask you all to put your hands down? Fantastic. Right, then we go on to now agenda item 4, the minutes. To confirm as a correct record, the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of February 2020. Do I have any questions on those minutes? If you have a question, raise your hand. No?
Chairman, would you like me to just seek a vote on the minutes by doing a call of all the names for you?
Yep. First of all, I need a proposer.
Mm-hmm.
So can I ask for a proposer, please?
Myself, Councillor Bird.
Councillor Bird. Councillor Hedgley to second.
Correct.
Thank you very much. And now Catherine will ask each committee member how they're voting.
Thank you, Chairman. So members of the committee, again, I will now call your name alphabetically. Can I ask you to please indicate clearly if you are voting for, against or abstaining to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of February as a correct record. Councillor Allen.
For.
Councillor Bird.
For.
Councillor Blundell.
For.
Councillor Cooper, who I think is not present. Councillor Deacon.
For.
Councillor Fryatt.
For.
Councillor Hedgley.
For.
Councillor McCallum.
For.
Councillor Yule.
For.
Thank you, Chairman. The minutes are carried as a correct record by all those present.
Thank you, Catherine. Agenda item 5 is the East Suffolk Enforcement Action Case update for noting. Does anybody want to say anything about that? No? Okay then. We're going to move on to agenda item 6. Planning application, Felixstowe Ferry Golf Club. I'll hand you over to the officer.
Thank you. So this application is for the redevelopment of the existing Felixstowe Ferry Golf Club site to include a new clubhouse building, including a cafe, putting green, toilets, viewing platform, improved access, new car park, and 5 detached dwellings, and the relocation of the existing Coastwatch Tower. It's just worth adding to members at the moment, we are aware of an email that had been circulated to at least some members prior to this meeting. However, it wasn't made available to officers, and therefore it hasn't been included in the update sheet. The next slide, please. This is the application site. I think most of you are aware, all if not most of you were at a member site visit earlier this year. The site is located to the north of Felixstowe on the corner of Ferry Road and Cliff Road. The application site there is outlined in red. You'll notice a small red square to the south of the application site. That is the proposed location of the relocation of the Coastwatch Tower. The blue land to the north is the rest of the golf course, and the green line indicated on that plan is to show the AOMB boundary. So the land to the north of that boundary is within the AOMB, and the land to the south is outside of it. Could I have the next slide, please? So like I said, you're fairly familiar with the site following that site visit. However, I've got some photos here just moving around the site to show the view of the site from different locations. So the existing building, white render in the middle there, is the existing clubhouse building. The existing council car park on the right of the screen there with the access, that access that you can see in the photo would remain in that position. Can I have the next photo, please? So moving further along Cliff Road, opposite the rear of the existing clubhouse building, with a view out towards the coast, you'll see in the distance there is the Martello Tower up on part of the golf course, and the smaller 2-storey building is the pro shop related to the golf club. Have the next one, please. This photo is taken from the corner of Ferry Road at the existing access, with the pro shop on the left of your photo and the existing clubhouse building centrally. Next one, please. This photo is looking further back from Ferry Road. You'll notice the existing residential dwellings on Cliff Road there, facing towards the site, the existing club access. The proposed new residential dwellings would be located around the opposite side of the Cliff Road there. Next one, thank you. Moving across the site now to the public footpath that runs along the coast towards Felixstowe Ferry, looking back across the golf club, showing the existing clubhouse and pro shop. Next one, thank you. This photo is of the existing Coastwatch Tower. That's proposed to be moved along into central location within the car park, looking back towards the existing properties on Cliff Road, which you'll notice are a varied and modern design, lots with balconies on the front, across the existing council car park. Next one, thank you. This one is again from the top of the steps down to the coastal path, looking across the car park to where the Coastwatch Tower will be relocated. And the next one. This is the last photograph of the site that I've got, which is looking out from where the proposed viewing platform would be, looking out towards Martello Tower, Felixstowe Ferry and Bordsey beyond. Next slide, thank you. On here, I've got an existing and a proposed site layout plan. It's probably worth mentioning at this point, give a quick history of how the application has come about. Felixstowe Ferry Golf Club, the clubhouse building itself is of some age now. It was originally designed as a residential property. It has been altered and extended over the years to make the best use of the space that they have got for the clubhouse. However, it's not a purpose-built building for that purpose. There are ongoing maintenance and expense costs. And so the club have been working over some years now to sort of develop a plan of how they can move forward. In terms of membership, they've got quite a good membership for golf clubs, and obviously they want to keep that as it is. And I think the golf club course itself is highly renowned. They considered various options. A structural survey of the building was carried out in 2010, and this was again looked at again in 2018. And I think a survey of members also indicated that one of the main things that members wanted to see was improved clubhouse facilities. So the three options that were considered in terms of development of the club were option one, effectively do nothing and carry on as they are, which would involve retaining the existing clubhouse as it is, keeping going as they are. But at the moment, there is an issue in terms of just ongoing maintenance costs of just keeping things ticking over and not being left with a high quality functioning building at the end of it. Option two was to repair and refurbish the existing building. This was anticipated to have a cost of approximately £1.1 million to actually bring it up to standard and to make some improvements. There was concern in terms of this option as to what the end result would be. Would it be worth effectively spending that much money to result in a building that still had some limitations on it? And again, a sort of risky scenario, potentially spending that much money without having the then potential future income generation. And so option three is to demolish and rebuild it. This is the option that the club are now taking forward, and obviously a significant amount of work has been done in terms of assessing the viability of that and the benefits that can come from that as well. So the plan that they're proposing is to demolish, rebuild a new clubhouse building. This will ensure that the existing clubhouse building can be retained and used for members during construction works. 5 new dwellings are proposed to partially fund the rebuild. The rest of it would become from a bank loan, and there's a business plan moving forward as well to ensure that the club can sustain ongoing running costs. Right, could I have the next slide, please? This is a zoomed in version of the proposed layout. You'll see centrally on the plot there's a red dotted line, which is the existing clubhouse building to be demolished. And further north, the other red line dotted there is the pro shop building, again to be demolished. You see the 5 residential dwellings fronting out towards Cliff Road and Ferry Road. The existing access to the south of the site is the existing access to the Clifflands car park. The application is on land, partially on land, currently owned by the District Council, and which would be sold as a result of this application. Part of that land is currently leased to the golf club for parking in any case. So the existing access would remain the same. However, a new entrance would be included into the new car park area, and the council car park would have a one-way system such that it would only provide an exit through that site. So the clubhouse building there is to the right of your screen. The sort of orangey brown colour is some letting rooms are proposed. The yellow area is the members bar. The grey area would be a new function room, and the green area to the south would be a cafe with a small grey area next to it as public toilets with a public putting green at the front. We could have the next slide, please. This is the proposed layout of the upper ground floor, if you like, of the proposed clubhouse building. So there'd be 6 accommodation rooms, a members area and bar, a large function room, which would enable the club to carry out larger functions, which would again be there for members for golf club events and to increase revenue in terms of the business plan and keeping funds going to keep the maintenance of the building in the future. The green area there is the proposed cafe with the 3 small grey areas next to that is the public toilets, which would be accessible outside, and the kitchen area and ancillary functions. Just to the left of the main entrance on that plan there is an underground ramp to give access straight through to the golf course. If I can just go on to the next slide now, please. This is a plan of the lower ground floor. So the gap in the middle there is where the ramp will go underneath the clubhouse building through onto the golf course. And in this area, we've got all the main golf related facilities, reception area, changing areas, the pro shop we now being located into the building, and the trolley buggy store in grey. Next slide, please. These are the proposed elevations of the clubhouse. Here you've got the northwest and the southeast elevations. You'll see a mixture of sloping roofs, green roofs. So the site in the OMB has been very landscape-led drawing design in terms of the building and its layout. Lots of glass looking out, obviously making most of the views across the sea and of the golf course and towards Felixstowe Ferry and Bordsey. The next slide, please. And the other two elevations. So the bottom elevation there is the main entrance where the number 10 is into the building, with the letting rooms to the left of that and the cafe over towards the right, and the golf course facing elevation above. Next one, please. Moving on to the proposed residential dwellings, the 5 plots all accessed off the main road. The plots 4 and 5 to the north would share an access. Plot 3 have its own access, and plots 1 and 2 would have their own shared access. There would be a 6-foot boundary treatment between the rear of the gardens and the parking area. The parking area that the properties are located next to is sort of the overflow car park. So it's envisaged that the majority of the parking would be in the area of the car park to the south. The next slide, please. So this is the front elevation of all the properties. So these are viewed if you were standing on the corner of Ferry Road and Cliff Road in that order. You'll notice the different scale in plots 3, 4 and 5, particularly adding an extra story on. However, given the land levels drops towards the Ferry Road end of the site, these properties aren't actually the highest in real terms. I think plot 3 is the highest. I've just put the AOD of the maximum height of the dwellings on that for you, just to show that although plots 1 and 2 are the 2-storey, they're not actually the lowest ones in terms of real height, given the change in the land levels around the site. So they're a modern design, sort of box style architecture, and a mixture of materials and balconies, which aren't dissimilar to a number of the properties along Cliff Road, a lot of which feature balconies on their front elevations, obviously facing out towards the sea and making the most of those views. If I could have the next one, please. A couple of site sections through here. So the existing properties in Cliff Road are on the right-hand side of that picture, shown relative to the proposed new dwelling. The existing clubhouse building there to be demolished in red, and the proposed new clubhouse building, which you will see, although is wider and I guess has a larger footprint than the existing building, will sit lower in the landscape. And the next one, please. This cross-section is through the front of the site, looking at the residential properties. And again, the existing clubhouse building dotted in red there. And the next one, please. These images are taken from the landscape impact assessment that was submitted with the application and show a number of different views with the proposed buildings outlined in. So you can see how they would sit within existing views. So the top one there is from the entrance to the Clifton's car park, and another one from the beach. We could move on to the next one, please. So view east from Ferry Road, looking towards the site. So in the foreground in this, from this view, you would have the proposed residential dwellings. And then from further along Ferry Road towards Felixstowe Ferry, the outline there in the middle shows how the proposed new clubhouse building would sit. Can I have the next one, please? This is the proposed viewing platform. It would be located at the top of the existing steps down to the coastal path and the beach. The level access, so it's accessible, relatively small, 4 meters by 6 meters. It would have information boards on for information about the coast and the view. The AONB unit have requested that a condition that they are able to see the information that would be provided on those notice boards prior to them being agreed. And again, just a sort of a fairly modest wooden structure, provide a small seating area and a viewing platform. Next slide, please. And again, this is the existing mast, which would be relocated. It is this I think is a dominant feature from its immediate vicinity. However, in long distance views, it's not overly dominant. It's a feature that already exists on the coastline. And in order for this scheme to work, it's just being moved further down, centrally into the car park area, which again wouldn't have a huge impact on anyone's personal views from a property because they are some distance away behind the car park. If I could have the next one, please. So the main issues are the principle of the enabling development insofar as the proposal involves 5 new residential dwellings just outside of the physical limits boundary of Felixstowe, which would partially enable the funding to fund the development of the golf club. The design and the layout and its impact on the AONB landscape. And the design is considered to be of high quality. The dwellings would be high quality. The design of the clubhouse building has been landscape led, and they've had a landscape architect involved from early stages to ensure that that's the case. And the AONB team do not object to the design or its impact in terms of the landscape. The heritage impact, there is the loss of the existing clubhouse building, which has been there for a number of years, and it is a significant building in terms of its location, given its openness on the coast there. However, Council's Design and Conservation Officer didn't consider that it was a non-designated heritage asset, and therefore hasn't objected to its loss. The impact on residential amenity to not just the new dwellings and the properties, the existing properties on Cliff Road and Ferry Road opposite. It's not envisaged that the use of the club would change significantly. However, they do obviously hope that the improved facilities would improve use of the building and potentially increase the number of events and possibly the number of people being able to use the facility. There is some impact there. Again, highways, some number of meetings have been had with the Highways Authority, who originally had some concerns about the visibility displays of the accesses. However, they have now all been overcome, and so are just conditioned sort of standard visibility display conditions. And ecology, again, there's a few conditions proposed to ensure that works don't affect and works are controlled in terms of the time of the season, and construction issues to ensure that there's no impact on ecology during that phase of the development. If I can have the next slide there, please. These are the recommendations and the suggested conditions. There are quite a number there. They are in full in your report. So the recommendation is to approve, to support the club, providing a facility for a number of people, albeit mainly members, but also members of the public, which would also provide some new housing, a cafe, a viewing platform, and the public toilets. And so it's considered, providing that subject to all of those conditions, that the development would be acceptable in this case.
Thank you very much, Rachel. That was a very, very in-depth presentation. Members, do you have any questions, please, for Rachel? Councillor Deacon. Yep, I've got you in order. Councillor Deacon, Bird, Hedgley and Fryatt.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. My first question concerns where we are with the local plan, the final draft, and the validity of CSLP 1212. That's my first question. And how relevant is the Felixstowe Area Action Plan policies 16, 19 and 20 in that regard, because they are slightly different in their wording. Would you like me to ask the rest of my questions before?
Do you want to do them, just do them in order? Yeah, I think if Rachel does them in order.
Yes.
So,
Okay. In terms of the new local plan coming in, those policies are not yet adopted. The policies that haven't received any objection can be given a little bit more weight at the moment. And although the inspector has written to say that it's likely that subject to the main modifications, the plan would be found sound, we're still in that consultation process. And so the adopted plan at the moment is the plan that we've got at the moment. Your next question was in relation to some of the Felixstowe Area Action Plan policies.
Councillor Deacon. Councillor Deacon. Councillor Deacon.
Hello,
Councillor
can you
Deacon,
hear
I
me
believe you
now?
are on mute.
Yeah, I was, and I couldn't shift it onto unmute.
Sorry, could you just repeat the second part of your question about the Felixstowe Area Action Plan policies?
Yeah, how they relate, that 619 and 620, because they read slightly different to the two policies, or the policy that I mentioned prior.
The Area Action Plan policies are part of the development plan. So these again are the current adopted policies rather than the new local plan.
Okay, thank you. I have a comment about your presentation, which I found very interesting. But when you actually had the photographs of the site and the proposed skeleton drawings of the developments, it would have been really nice if those skeletons had been blocks of houses, when the buildings won't be.
So this is a comment or a question, Councillor Deacon?
I was getting to ask the question, would it have not been preferable to show them as solid blocks?
Yes, I guess that would have shown the sort of the block and the density, if you like. Obviously, without then it would block out the existing vegetation, for example, which could be said to screen it, which potentially you wouldn't get in a view. Those were the views that I had available submitted as part of the application.
And finally, at paragraph 7.12 of your report, it refers to a cafe serving golfers and the public. Is this correct? Because I understood that the large cafe dining room and lounge for members and invitees is kept separate from the small cafe open to the public.
Yes, I guess the cafe is meant mainly for the public. I guess there's no reason why a golfer couldn't use it, but yes, there is also a separate members area.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's quite standard with most golf courses. Before we come on to Councillor Bird, Councillor Hedgley and Councillor Fry, Head of Planning, Philip Ridley would like to come in.
Thank you, Councillor McCullum, and good afternoon, members, the team and members of the public. Rachel Smith gave a perfectly good answer to the first of Councillor Deacon's questions, but I just want to draw attention to the draft local plan, which, as Rachel quite rightly pointed out, is out at consultation on the main modification stage, and draw attention to policy SCLP 12.11 relating to Felixstowe Ferry and the golf course, which has no proposed changes to it, which has within it the sentence Felixstowe Ferry Golf Club is recognised as an important leisure, community and tourism facility, and proposals which significantly improve the clubhouse facilities in order to safeguard the long-term future of the golf club will be welcomed where they retain the openness of the golf course. That's an important phrase in that policy, and as Rachel quite rightly said, that policy cannot be given full weight, but obviously members will be minded that the policy is likely to be adopted in the future, and obviously give it the balance accordingly when considering with the Felixstowe Area Action Plan and the core strategy policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Councillor Bird, Councillor Hedgley, and then Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question relates to the proposed new entrance, which is obviously going to be towards the south of this side rather than right on the bend where it is at the moment. Slight concern that there will be a somewhat complicated arrangement there where that will be the entrance and exit to the golf club, but it will only be an exit for Clifflands car park. So my question is it proposed that there will be adequate signage to explain that it's not an entrance to Clifflands car park, only an exit from it? So no confusion for motorists. And if that isn't part of the plan, would we be able, if we were minded to approve, could we condition that appropriate signage is put there?
We haven't got details of the signage at the moment. They would be subject to potentially advertisement consent applications. The council would own the Clifton's car park, that would remain in their ownership. So yes, as the council, I guess we could ensure, I think also the golf club would want to ensure that their members were able to access their facility correctly as well. But yes, I'm sure there will be, the council will be responsible for ensuring that there's appropriate signage as to how to use the car park, in that the car park facility would have one way in and one way out, whereas the golf club would be in and out of the same entrance.
Councillor Hedgley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and may I commend the officer for her diligence in this complicated matter. If I could take you to the layout plan, please. Could you tell me how many entrances stroke exits there are concerned with this application altogether on that, what I consider quite a dangerous corner? And also, is there a pedestrian crossing envisaged at all?
Yes, I don't know, are we able to go back to the presentation, Matt? If we can, but there's a...
Yes, we can.
Sorry, thank you.
Just confirm which slide you'd like me to go back to, please.
The site layout, please. After the photographs, there's an existing and proposed site layout, and then the one after that is the proposed site layout as sort of on a full screen.
I'll just share that now.
Thank you.
Is that the one, Councillor Hedgley?
I think this is the one. I think I can explain the accesses from here. So the existing access at the south of that is the existing car park entrance, which would now be the main access for the clubhouse building. Then moving north along Cliff Road, you've got an access there that would serve plots 1 and 2. But further round on the bend is a single access that would serve just plot 3. Then further up is an access that would serve plots 4 and 5. And then a access, which is an existing access to the east of the existing pro shop. And also there is going to be improved access and pedestrian links across to the Links 9-hole golf course, which is on the opposite side of Ferry Road as existing. So that's improving the access in that part of the site.
Thank you. So that's 5 entrances plus you can walk across.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Fry. No? No? Councillor Fry, hand did go down as well, so I presume that he's not asking a question. Okay, so now we'll go on to the public speaker. I have no objector, no town or parish council. I have the applicant, David Spencer.
Mr. Spencer is present in the room, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Spencer, I think Matt will now start timing. Are you ready to speak now?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Spencer, you'll be given 3 minutes, sir. You may begin.
Firstly, I'd like to thank the Planning Officer for a thorough report and presentation, and for the constructive way in which the officers of the Council have engaged with the club. Felixstowe Ferry Golf Club was founded in 1880 and is one of the oldest golf clubs in England. We have a total membership of 925, which includes golfers and social members. Our membership profile is varied. We have many workers at the port and in transport-related businesses, plus many from BT. We have a strong ladies section, a vibrant junior section, and a popular senior section. Golf is a healthy and active pastime for all ages, and the club is therefore an important leisure facility for the local community and for the future generations. The very future of the golf club is under threat due to the spiralling costs of maintaining the existing clubhouse. Built as a farmhouse in 1843 and converted and extended over the years, it is no longer fit for purpose. A structural survey concluded it had come to the end of its facility life, and any other action would only be delaying the inevitable and throwing good money after bad. The new facility will enable us to forge much closer links with the local community so that many more can participate in the benefits of the healthy pastime and share the beauty of the location. This is very much in line with the guidance from England Golf. The club is very fortunate to be situated in an AONB, and we are aware of the historical importance of the Martello Tower and other important landmarks in the area. We also know that the golf club forms an integral part of the beauty and heritage of the location. We respect and very much appreciate this. It is the fabric of the club. Right from the start, we engaged with the AONB officer and adopted a landscape-led design. The green living roof is the most obvious feature, as is the lower height of the building. The focus was very much to enable the building to sit well in its environment. We engaged with the local residents and held a public consultation on the 24th of September last year. 250 local residents attended and 92% gave positive comments and feedback about the project. There were some reservations, the number and the style of the houses, and we subsequently reduced the number and also changed the style of the houses to accommodate their concerns. Our aim is to safeguard golf in Felixstowe into the 21st century. Our request is to be granted the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
I think that was very good timing. The alarm had just gone off there.
Sorry about that.
Something's going wrong with my microphone here. I do have Councillor Blundell. Is that a question, please, for the applicant? Councillor Blundell, your hand is up. Okay, I'm going to skip over Councillor Blundell. Councillor Deacon.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Spencer. I have a couple of questions I'd like to put to you. Can I ask you, first of all, because I genuinely do not know this, is the club open to non-residents, i.e. would it cater for a tourist just turning up for a day's golf on the 18-hole golf course? And my second question is, unfortunately, we do live in very unpredictable times. Are you absolutely certain, if planning permission is obtained in Gillen, that the project would remain financially viable?
Mr. Spencer, are you able to answer those questions?
Certainly, yes. The answer to the first question is yes. The 9-hole golf course that we have is a pay and play, so it's open to visitors all the time, as is the 18-hole as well. Visitors can come and buy a green fee and go out and play. We also very much encourage people to come into the clubhouse and join as social members as well. So yes, we are definitely open to the public, and the project is very much what we're trying to do is to get closer to the public and make the golf club much more welcoming. This is one of England Golf's one of their biggest recommendations. The second question regarding the viability. Firstly, the project is still viable. The fundamental principles of part funding the clubhouse by the gain of the residential properties and then creating additional income streams to sustain the club going forward remain unchanged. The COVID situation in our eyes is a temporary situation. We will get through it. We will come through the other side, and there will be a requirement for this type of facility in the town and in the area going forward. So yes, we certainly believe it's very viable going forward. Does that answer the question?
Thank you
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
very much, Mr. Spencer. I've got nobody else's hands up, so thank you very much for attending the meeting. I'm now going to go, Councillor Wiles, I see you here. Are you wishing to speak, Councillor Wiles? Councillor Wiles? Okay, I see Councillor Wiles is one of the ward members and he's not, no indication to speak. Okay then, so we are now going to go into debate. I've got 3 Felixstowe members on the planning committee. I've got Councillor Deacon, Bird and Allen. So I'll let Councillor Deacon speak first and then the other 2 and then Councillor Bird. His hand has gone up. So Councillor Deacon.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I do have very mixed feelings about this application, whereas I am very aware of the important role that the golf club plays in the life of Felixstowe, which it has done, as we've just heard, for many years, and I'm very keen to see that it prospers for many more years to come. I have absolutely no problems with the provision and the design of the new clubhouse. However, I am concerned over the impact that the proposed enabling housing would have on the area of outstanding natural beauty. The development also falls outside the physical limits of Felixstowe and is therefore technically in the countryside, and it would be adverse to our policies on housing in the countryside DM3. We have spent many hours developing policies to safeguard our unique countryside on the AONB, and it's my opinion that these policies should be adhered to and only disregarded in the most extreme of circumstances. I have serious reservations about the access to the proposed residential development of Cliff Road and Ferry Road. Another member has mentioned the dangerous bend that there is there. I would welcome the provision of a new putting green, toilets and cafe and a viewing platform. But that said, there are already toilets at the dip, not so very far away. There is a refreshment kiosk, which is open, I think, only in the summer. And there is an abundance of casual sites in the vicinity where easily accessible that have stunning coastal views. So I'm not really sure how the wider community will benefit from these proposals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Bird.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Obviously considered this application carefully. There's a lot of factors to consider. Overall, I'm very supportive of this. The current building, the conservation officer, as indicated in the officer's report, it has not declared this a non-designated heritage asset. In many ways, it's a singularly unattractive building, particularly in its public-facing elevation. The face that faces the road. There's nothing outstanding or noteworthy about it, to be honest. The new building has been very imaginatively and innovatively designed. It fits much better into the landscape. We've heard how it will sink into the landscape and have a green roof, I think, and the fact that it's been energy efficient designed is very welcome. This scheme does include the provision of useful public facilities, the cafe, the toilets, the viewing platform. Also, what is being proposed on that southern perimeter will tidy that area up. That is the public entrance to the AONB. And at the moment, it appears extremely scruffy, I have to say, on that southern perimeter. What is proposed is going to tidy that up and make a far more attractive and welcoming entrance to the AONB. The car park, again, at the moment, is a very dominant and unattractive feature. It's not currently a typical, if you like, old style car park of a vast acreage of tarmac. The new proposed car park will be a green surfaced, far more environmentally friendly and attractive car park. As regards the new dwellings, yes, there's conflicting elements, aspects to consider here. On balance, I do accept what the officer's report says, that the exception from the rule on the AONB is acceptable because these will be an enabling facility. As to the fact that there will be 5 new dwellings in the AONB, as has been pointed out, these will be very physically restrictive. They will sink into lower ground, and in terms of their visibility from the AONB, again, they, as I say, they will be low lying, and they will also be screened by the existing screen of trees to their north, which will screen them from the AONB. And in fact, you have to consider that across the road into Ferry Road, because the boundary of the AONB doesn't go at the edge of the housing, it goes to the middle of the road. The houses on the north of Ferry Road are in the AONB already, albeit that these are 5 additional properties. They are very attractively designed as well. I think they will complement the whole scheme. And as I said, I think on balance, the argument that these will be acceptable because they're an enabling facility, I accept. It is a matter of balance, but I think the overriding factors for me are that this will be a scheme that will enable the golf club to thrive and survive. The current building is beyond its useful life, and we've been told that to spend more money on it will be throwing good money after bad. To me, as a Felixstowe resident of Felixstowe Council, I think this will be an exciting, welcome scheme. It's very.
Can I ask you to wind up, Councillor?
Yeah, and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got no other hands up at the moment. I've got Councillor Wiles. Councillor Wiles isn't a member of this planning committee, but is the ward councillor. I did call upon you earlier, Councillor Wiles. If I'm not sure constitutionally, I would have to just ask. Constitutionally, can Councillor Wiles come in now?
It's at your discretion, Councillor McCullum. He's a member of the council.
I think we should give Councillor Wiles the opportunity to speak. You were called upon, Councillor Wiles, at the appropriate time, but you weren't on video and you were on mute. So I've got Councillor Hedgley and Councillor Friat that wish to speak, but I will let you come in first. But just before you do come in, Councillor Wiles, I was reading the viability statement, and England Golf Union seem to be quite or very supportive. And in a recent survey of golf clubs in England, the EGU identified some common themes among clubs that were successfully growing their membership. Remember, if membership grows, there's also a revenue that follows with that. And these included the importance of creating a welcoming environment, catering for a range of different needs, communicating regularly with members and visitors, developing facilities to broaden income streams, and becoming part of the local community. And I think that this application actually does tick all of those boxes. So, Councillor Wiles, I will let you come in.
Thank you. And my apologies, I was in another room watching on YouTube, fascinated on how it would work on another platform. But thank you for letting me come in. I'd just like to reiterate on what Mr. Spencer said. The golf course itself and the golf club has got a really long history and also has a great following in my ward and further. Their consultation with the public has been remarkable. They have bent over backwards to give as much information as they can. And I, as a ward member, fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wiles. Councillor Hedgley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm assuming the financial stability of the golf club depends on the improvement of the club as a whole, but mostly the houses. And I understand the whole application will improve the visitor perception and the facilities for Felixstowe. But I am a little bit concerned about the entrances and exits onto the main road on that corner. I wonder, perhaps I should have asked the applicant, but it didn't cross my mind then. Perhaps I could ask the officer whether or not it was ever considered that one entrance feeding all 5 houses would be acceptable.
I'll ask the officer to respond to that. Catherine?
Sorry, it's Rachel.
Rachel?
Thank you. Normally, the Highways Authority would prefer one access to serve, for example, 5 properties. However, given the distance involved and given the visual impact of a long driveway extending sort of parallel to the road around the corner there, that wasn't considered the best option in terms of the design and layout of the housing. I appreciate that it is not the best bend in terms of visibility. However, all I can say is that the applicants and their agents and their highways engineers have been out and met the county council on site who originally raised concerns, and subject to amendments that they have made to the plan as a result of those meetings, they're now satisfied that there wouldn't be a danger to highway safety.
Thank you. Are you okay with that, Councillor Hedgley?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Councillor Fright. Councillor Fright?
Yes, indeed. Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you can now, can you? Go, right,
Yeah,
I'll go away. I'll go. I was very taken, of course, by the 2 ward members, the local town council as well, particularly sort of Stuart Bird and Mr. Miles, because we sat at this committee now, or I certainly sat there for over 9 years, and very frequently we've had cases coming up from golf clubs which are on the verge of disappearing, shall we say, or on the verge of needing vast injections of money, which I know that golf is supposed to be a rich man's sport, but they don't pay the fees to be able to do this sort of thing. So I'm very, very happy that the golf club has got the wherewithal to see in the future and say, this is what we've got to do to keep this alive. I know it is not totally consistent with the local plans that we've put forward, and I was instrumental in putting some of those forward, but the point is, the plans, we have to say, are for guidance. And in this particular case, I think the guidance would say, come along, let's do something for this golf club.
Okay, the only hand I have left up now is Councillor Blundell. So we're going to listen to Councillor Blundell and then we're going to move forward to the recommendation. The golf clubs you're talking about, Councillor Fright, were Ufford Park and Finn Valley. Both golf clubs have remained stable. In fact, Ufford Park in the first 6 months of them doing their the child facility there, they'd paid for it and have never looked back. So, Councillor Blundell.
Thank you, Debbie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because the message had been sent through that I'd gone offline and you couldn't see or hear me.
Correct, but we can hear you now. Do you wish to make a statement?
No, I just wanted to check that was okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Right, can we move to the recommendation then? There are no more hands going up. Can I have the recommendation on the screen, please?
It's coming now, Chairman.
Right, members, I just want you to take a couple of moments to look at the recommendation. And then I will be asking for a proposer and a seconder. So you will already have this in your reports, but this is the recommendation with a stream of conditions. And they're in more detail within your report. I did read through them. I'll just give you a minute to read those. And for those people looking in on other media frames. Okay, can I have a proposer, please?
I'm happy to propose, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bird. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Hedgley?
I'm happy to second.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll have the other
Okay.
one. Yep, we'll have Melissa. Or Councillor Allen, sorry, being so familiar there. Right, now Catherine will go round to the members. We just need you to answer for, against, or abstain. Catherine?
Thank you, Chairman. So as the Chairman has just said, members, I'll now call your name alphabetically. And if you could please indicate clearly if you are voting for, against, or abstaining for the recommendation as proposed and seconded. Thank you. Councillor Allen,
4.
Councillor Bird,
4,
Councillor Blundell,
4. Can you hear me?
yes, Councillor Deacon,
Against.
Councillor Fryatt,
4.
Councillor Hidgley,
4,
Councillor McCallum,
4.
Councillor Yule.
4.
Thank you. Chairman, I can confirm that the recommendation is carried by a majority.
Thank you very much. Then we'll be, we're gonna just take, because this is all very new to us all, and we're gonna just take a 5-minute comfort break, okay? So Matt, we're gonna a 5-minute comfort break, so we'll be back in 5 minutes, yes?
Thank you, Chairman. 5 minutes.
Thank you.
No. Hold on. You are? No, it's all right.
Right, we're all back in the room now.
Chairman, I believe we're just waiting on Councillor Blundell.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Councillor Blundell, you don't need to keep asking us. We can hear you. We'll tell you when we can't hear you, sir. Okay, are we ready to move forward?
Chairman, I believe all members of the committee are now present.
Thank you very much. Right, I've just had, Councillor, I think Philip Ridley has left us. Could that be noted in the minutes, please? Right, we're now going on to 32 The Thoroughfare, Woodbridge.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This application is for a replacement dwelling at 32 Thoroughfare, Woodbridge. Next slide, please. The site is located within the centre of Woodbridge and is accessed via the thoroughfare. Next slide, please. The aerial imagery shows the location of the site in relation to the thoroughfare to the north and the service yard and Jacob Street car park to the east. Next slide, please. Located within Woodbridge Conservation Area, the existing property, known as Ropewalk Cottage, is a non-designated heritage asset. It is seen here with pink render and a conservatory to the rear. Next slide, please. A site visit was conducted on the 3rd of October 2019 in relation to the pre-application submission, with the applicant, architect, historic buildings consultant, planning officer, and design and conservation officer in attendance. Access was gained to the building, its garden curtilage, and surroundings. This is the existing view of the property from the vehicle access of the thoroughfare. Next slide, please. This is the view from the property back towards the vehicle access. Next slide, please. And this is the rear of the existing property. Next slide, please. This is the front elevation of the existing property. Next slide, please. And this is looking west towards the neighbouring property on Doric Place. Next slide, please. This is a view from the garden looking southwest towards the neighbouring property, 6 Doric Place. Next slide, please. And this is a view across from the garden looking northeast towards the neighbouring properties on Jacob's Way. Next slide, please. This is the view from the car park at Jacob's Way, looking northwest towards the existing property. Next slide, please. And this is just another view from the car park looking towards the existing property. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed ground floor plan. It includes 2 car parking spaces to the front, a plant room, an art room, 3 bedrooms, and an outside courtyard. There's also proposed landscaping to the front and rear with a tree-lined southeastern boundary. Next slide, please. This is the proposed first floor plan. It includes a green roof over the art room, open kitchen, living and dining area, and an outside terrace with steps leading down to the garden. Next slide, please. This is the roof plan, which includes the installation of photovoltaic panels. Next slide, please. This is the proposed front elevations. Materials include a mix of brick and off-white render. Next slide, please. The southwestern elevation is highly glazed and faces towards the private courtyard space. The outline of the neighbouring property, 6 Doric Place, is shown in red and denotes the location of all windows along the respective elevation. With regard to the neighbouring property, 3 windows to the left serve the kitchen, utility room and cloakroom and are all obscurely glazed. The 4th window serves the dining room and is positioned above head height. The largest window serves the bathroom and is not obscurely glazed. However, the roofline of the proposed development has been set back to retain outlook from this window and to minimise any potential for overlooking and loss of privacy. Likewise, the smaller window to the far right. The bedroom window at the first floor level on the northern elevation of 6 Doric Place will overlook the proposed green roof area and the corner of the proposed development, but this does not directly face any glazed openings and is set back by approximately 6 metres. The proposed bathroom at the first floor level of the development will be conditioned to be obscurely glazed to ensure that any potential for loss of privacy is mitigated for both properties. Next slide, please. Suitable daylight for habitable rooms is achieved when the 25-degree vertical angle taken from the centre of the lowest window is kept unobstructed. The recommended distance between the buildings is dependent on the opposing property ridgeline. As indicated in this drawing, this recommended angle can be achieved from all windows on the neighbouring properties. Next slide, please. The northeast elevation comprises an intricate brickwork wall that reflects the existing materials and relationship with the adjacent service yard. The brick wall has become an integrated and decorative feature that links the existing wall and provides a visual point of interest, particularly when viewed across the service yard from Brook Street. Next slide, please. The following visualizations provide a 3D context of the proposal. This image shows the front elevation of the property viewed from the vehicle exit. Next slide, please. This image depicts the view from Brook Street across the service yard. The presence of the new building will bulk larger longitudinally in this view, and it represents a change, but not necessarily an adverse one. It will still be possible to see across the site on either side of the new dwelling to the unlisted and listed buildings beyond, and appreciate their positive townscape effect. Although not clear in this visualization, the brick wall will comprise a decorative pattern as indicated in the image to the right. Next slide, please. This is the view of the proposal from Jacobs Way car park. It is notable that the surrounding built environment comprises a mix of the modern and historic, with an eclectic and varied range of architectural styles, forms, and scales represented. Whilst not replicating the existing picturesque view of Rope Walk Cottage from the adjacent car park, a similar view has been provided for in this submission and illustrates the interest of the design. The view also illustrates how the design reflects the local importance of the gabled and pitched roof forms, emphasised by the overhanging roof. Although not all may find the view equally picturesque, it would be of a townscape interest. Next slide, please. The proposal for the demolition of Rope Walk Cottage and the construction of a 3-bedroom, 2-storey dwelling located within the centre of Woodbridge is deemed acceptable in principle and considered a sustainable form of development. The site is of a size that would suitably accommodate the scale of development proposed without causing harm to outlook, access to daylight sunlight, or overlooking of neighbouring properties. The overall design results is responsive and distinctive and has the potential to enhance the conservation area with design aspects well considered in terms of the hierarchy of spaces and efficiency of layout. Overall, it is considered that design quality and incorporation of sustainable construction features to provide a sustainable lifetime 3-bedroom dwelling outweighs the loss of the existing building as a non-designated heritage asset. We therefore recommend approval subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Thank you.
Chairman, may I just interrupt for one moment, please? Chairman, I believe you're on mute at the moment.
That's my bag, that is. I'm sorry about that. Who was that just came on the screen there, please?
I believe that was Miss Keyburn, who's registered to address the committee as objector. Chairman, we were just receiving, I think, some additional background noise to that. Can I just, through yourself, just remind everybody to remain on mute unless they're actually addressing the committee, please. So that's all councillors, officers and visiting members of the public. If you can remain on mute until you've been invited to address the committee. Thank you.
And I'm not ready to listen to the or hear the objector yet, so We have some other business to do before we get there. So the lady keeps coming up on big on my screen. Okay. Before we go to any questions, did you want to read out a statement, Liz?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Afternoon, members. I've got a very...
Can't hear you.
My apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I have a very short statement to read on behalf of the Principal Design and Conservation Officers, okay? He was hoping to attend the meeting, but he's had some IT issues which has prohibited it. So if you just bear with me, I'll just read this short message to all the committee and those listening in. I agree that this application is finely balanced and that any decision must have regard to the merits of retaining the existing cottage, which is a non-designated heritage asset, and the opportunity afforded by its replacement with a design that I judge to be of outstanding quality. It is not easy recommending that a new design should be accepted at the cost of an attractive small mid-19th century cottage. But having regard to this application lengthy consideration, it is my view that something that is quite good can be replaced with something that is much better, as here. This is, in fact, a guiding principle of conservation area designation. These are not preservation areas where everything must be kept as found. They allow for the area to be enhanced by the addition of development that improves its character or appearance. The cottage is attractive, but it is not particularly special. The design of the replacement is, to me, imaginative, high quality, bespoke and distinctive, all things we want new design to be. I believe its quality will complement the outstanding quality of the Woodbridge Conservation Area. Anything less, believe me, would have been unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions, please, on the officer's report? Any hands going up? Councillor Allen and Councillor Yule.
Yes, hi. Just on the wall, obviously it said in point 6.4 at the southeast wall. Is that going to be replaced or kept?
The wall in majority will be retained. It's just that new facade, so that new decorative wall will be the new addition.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Yule, question for the officer.
Yes, quite an easy one. 5 Doric Place. They have got problems potentially getting into their garage. I know it's only a small issue, but has that been addressed? Have you actually had a site visit and since receiving this comment? As I say, it's one of the easier ones from, he doesn't actually object to the development, but he does have concerns that he won't be able to get into his garage.
Yes, to answer that, it has been taken into account. We've been on site, as mentioned in the presentation, and also we've had input from the Highways Department as well, who have raised no objection to that manoeuvrability.
Can I just ask, were they actually specifically asked about this one, actually getting in and out and the, availability of that garage? I can understand getting on and off the site, but was it specific, a question regarding that garage?
Not specifically, but we will address that, and myself as an officer address that via the guidance provided by Suffolk County Council.
Fine, thank you.
Councillor Fright.
Yes, thank you very much. Could I just ask what public consultation had taken place on this particular one? I mean, we know that the Woodbridge Town Council was involved, but was there anything else with the local communities or the Historic England or whatever, and even with yourselves?
So in terms of consultation, I don't believe there was any prior consultation before submission. However, we have had full consultation, the statutory consultation, but the applicant perhaps may have approached the Woodbridge Town Council and neighbouring properties.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Fright?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, there's no more hands going up. So now we're going to go on to public speaking. And first of all, we have our objector, Suki Burr. Is it Suki Burr?
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Just hold on 2 seconds while Matt gets his new famous timer ready. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready,
The timer is ready, Chairman.
Yeah. Away you go, my dear.
Right, thank you. My husband and I live at 6 Doric Place, and I speak also for him. The rear wall of our house forms a main boundary with Roke Cottage, and we were always therefore likely to be the strongest objector, which may explain, and I have to say this, why the applicants in their previous application disingenuously omitted to mention 6 Doric Place as even existing at all, and stated then that no neighbour was affected. This time again, they insist that we have only 4 windows in existence when they know we have 6 actually affected. And again, they insist that 3 of our windows are bricked up when they know perfectly well we do not have any bricked up windows at all and never did. They're just inconvenient to the applicants. Mr. Ridley says light for the kitchen of the neighbour's home is important and actually agrees that our kitchen will lose light. 3 other rooms will also lose daylight on which they heavily rely. The first floor windows and first floor raised sun terrace of the new building will directly overlook straight into the clear glass original old sash window of our first floor bathroom from the same level and from a distance of a mere 5.8 metres, giving the applicants a clear direct view of the goings on with our use of the toilet and stepping into and out of the shower, their view being at the same level and from a mere 5.8 metres away, and we feel this is a serious and unpleasant invasion of our privacy. Mr. Ridley goes on to say that every effort should be made to avoid overlooking of garden sitting out areas, but the first floor raised sun terrace directly overlooks our garden sitting out area from first floor height and at a distance of a mere 7 metres. So little effort seems to have gone in to avoid this overlooking. The applicants themselves describe it as a high-level sun terrace. They want to be sitting in the sun, where they will not be able to help but look directly over and right down into our garden sitting out area, which will be in their full view from a mere 7 metres away and from up above us at first floor level. This is a disastrous invasion of our privacy. Trees for screening are all very well, but will take very many years before they can achieve anything like worthwhile screening.
Debbie, can you hear me?
Right. Councillor Blundell, somebody speaking, please. Can you be quiet?
I cannot hear them speaking.
Oh, God. Well, I'm sorry. Do I need to speak more loudly?
No, I can hear you speak. Can everybody else hear the lady speaking?
No, I can't
Yes.
Yes. Right.
Everybody else can hear you speaking. I don't know why you can't, then Councillor Blundell will have to come back to that. Would you like to carry on?
Because my
yes, please carry
right.
on. No, you'll be allowed a little bit of extra time. I'm sorry about that interruption.
Thank you. Well, what I did say was that trees for screening are all very well, but they will take very, very many years before they can achieve anything like worthwhile screening because of the first floor height. Lastly, I need to say that digging deep modern foundations within a very few metres of our 1820s rear wall is likely to damage our rear wall. We did ask for a site visit to 6 Doric Place, but we have not had a site visit, and we beg the committee to refuse the application to demolish this historic cottage and for an intrusive new building. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions to ask the lady? No, thank you very, very much. We've got no town or parish council speaking, but we do have the applicant's agent, Craig Beach. So Craig Beach will be next to speak.
Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Councillor Blundell, can you hear this gentleman speaking? I can't hear you, Councillor Blundell. Can you hear the gentleman speaking?
No.
So you're not getting any volume in. What we'll have to do is, I don't really want to stop at this point. Maybe what we'll have to do is, you're not hearing anybody then. You're hearing me though. Okay, we'll see if we can resolve this a bit later. Let's carry on. Councillor Blundell will have to sort that out a bit later. Can we have Mr. Beach, please?
Okay. This application will enable a local family to create a highly sustainable home at the heart of the community in which they seek to retire. With the exception of the Town Council, all consultees have no objections to the scheme. The design of the house provides a truly unique and exceptional home both architecturally and sustainably, whilst being located in the heart of Woodbridge, a highly sustainable location. The cars in the household will be fully electric and charged via on-site electricity production and battery storage. All walls, floors and roof are highly insulated to passive house standards. The house features numerous technologies, energy-saving devices, and is of a design so as to minimise its energy use and to take advantage of every opportunity to reduce its carbon footprint. The site is currently a disused 19th century house, empty for some time, uninsulated with rotten windows and requiring a replacement roof and in a very poor state of repair. This proposal sees the reuse of this central site and the creation of a new 3-bedroom energy-efficient home positioned in the same location on site as the existing house. The single-storey section of the house replaces some single-storey derelict garages, and the 2-storey new dwelling with slate roof replaces the existing 2-storey house and slate roof. We have worked closely over many months with support and input from your planning and design officers to help shape this scheme. As stated by the case officer, the site area is 340 square metres and the ground floor of the house is 114 square metres. 2/3 of the site remains undeveloped and will become attractively landscaped front and rear gardens. The case officer states the application replaces built form with built form. The council's design and conservation officer states the existing cottage is not of any great significance and did not meet the criteria as a heritage asset. Its loss can be acceptable in principle. They go on to note that this proposal will raise the quality of new design in this part of the conservation area. Overall, the design of the replacement dwelling is one that the council can support and is judged to be of outstanding quality, a site-responsive contemporary design that will promote higher levels of sustainability and that effectively uses the site to provide a distinctive design that will contribute very positively to its immediate locality and the wider area and conservation area. In summary, this is a truly unique and exceptional scheme with full support from both your conservation and design officer and planning officer. There were no objections from Highways, Environmental Protection, Archaeology or Historic England. The government have indicated we need hundreds of thousands of new homes. Why not build one that is innovative, architecturally outstanding, highly sustainable and addresses the challenges of climate change, providing a much valued home for a local family in their retirement. We urge you to follow the advice of your design, conservation and planning officers and support the recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the gentleman, please? Councillor Yule.
Yes, I was surprised to hear about consultees. It didn't include the neighbours, and you mentioned the town council. The town council does represent Woodbridge, and they did have quite a number of people at the public meeting, planning meeting, where they discussed this application. Can you tell me who else you consulted with?
I believe the applicant went round to neighbouring properties with leaflets to inform them of the development and inviting comments at that time.
That's not the case. That's not
okay.
true.
So that's the answer to the question, yes?
Yes, that's the answer to the question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fright.
I won't waste your time because that's exactly the question I was going to ask.
Okay, before we go on to any other speaking, Councillor Blundell, can you hear me? If you can hear me, can you come off mute, please, Councillor Blundell? Can Councillor Blundell come off mute? Okay, Matt, this is a legal meeting and these are legal decisions we are making. If Councillor Blundell has been unable to hear the communications from objectors, from applicants, agents, I will not be allowing Councillor Blundell to take a vote on this application. Is there any way we can remove Councillor Blundell from the meeting so we can sort out his technical issues, please?
Certainly, Chairman. I can move him into the waiting room for the duration of this item rather than remove him completely. Otherwise, he won't be able to rejoin for a future item if we can resolve his technical issues.
If we do that, then we'll have a slight break after this application and see if we can resolve these technical issues. Thank
Certainly,
you very
Chairman.
much.
I'll now move Councillor Blundell into the waiting room.
Okay, thank you. Before we go on to the ward members, Councillor Yule, I do have a statement here from Chris Mapey, which I will read out. I sit at both a district council. I am both a district councillor for Woodbridge Ward and also a member of Woodbridge Town Council, Setford Ward, which this property falls within. And I am also a member of the planning committees for Woodbridge Town Council. For clarity, I cannot support this development as submitted. The Woodbridge Town Council Planning Committee has considered both of the applications for this property and each time has recommended a refusal for it. The reasons given relating to this application are documented in the minutes, but we object to this application as it is contrary to planning policies DM21 and SP15. It is also contrary to para 127 of the National Planning Policy Framework. In addition, it is contrary to the following policies and the final draft local plan. I'll just read the policy numbers out. SCLP4, SCLP 11.1, CLP 11.2, Policy 12.31, and SCLP 11.5. There are also objections noted by the neighbouring properties to the rear of the site on Doric Place, especially the situation at number 5, where not only will all their ground floor windows be effectively blocked off, the proposed elevated terrace on the development will look straight into the windows on their first floor that face the site, such as their bedroom. For clarity, I quote policy CLP 11.2, amenity as referenced above. And it goes on to say a little bit more, but no different to what most of you have seen. So I'll leave those comments there, and now we'll go on to Councillor Yule. Did you wish to speak, or did you wish to open debate, Councillor Yule?
I'll open debate if you like.
Yeah, you can open.
Everybody's happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Madam Chairman, I have my hand raised to ask a question.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Deacon. I was trying to sort out Councillor Blundell at the same time. I do apologise. Councillor Deacon.
That's no problem at all. I don't know whether we can do this, but could we speak to Miss Suki Burr and ask if she was actually consulted? Because I do believe that's quite a sweeping statement that the applicant's representative made.
I hasten to think that Councillor Yule might be able to answer that herself. Councillor Yule, would you have the answer to that?
I think the answer is no. She hasn't been directly consulted.
Can I confirm that? The answer is no.
Right, okay, can we, yeah, okay, that's all right. Councillor Deacon, was that your question answered?
Yes, thank you.
Deacon. Councillor Yule.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to completely say that I agree with the Town Council's submission on this. And it's not only 5 Doric Place, it's 6 Doric Place, which is Mr. Baldry, as well on this. And my main concern is not in the demolition of the cottage. I think a replacement to that cottage could be really good and quite outstanding. I object to the bulk of this building and the direct overlooking at the back, which is going to be considerable into Mr. and Mrs. Keebur's property. There may be obscured windows at the back of their property. I've actually had a site visit there, but it still requires and does add to light into the property. Doesn't matter that it's obscured, it's light into the properties of both number 5 and number 6. So yes, this proposal is far better than the previous one, but still has a lot of issues relating to the neighbours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yule. Who would like to speak next? We have Councillor Hedgley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I think we're in one of these positions where it's the shock of the new is greater than the appreciation of what is going to be built there. I believe probably in a couple of years the building will be thought of as very acceptable. However, After hearing what Miss Sue Keeper has said, I'm very concerned that this hasn't been thought through properly. And the fact that she says, and I have no reason to disbelieve her, that her sitting area will be completely overlooked, I think is unacceptable.
Councillor Fright.
I would concur with what Councillor was saying previously. This is a great opportunity to improve Woodbridge. I have to say, it's a bit of a dead end at the moment there with what's going on. But I have to say, I don't think they've got the right design for replacing that in any way, shape or form. I think it's faulty in the bulk and the massing of it. And I think it's totally and utterly out of place to replace this little bungalow.
Councillor Yule, is that your hand back up again, or has your hand not been lowered? Thank you very much, Councillor Yule. I have to agree with everything that's been said so far. I think the officer has said, and also, well, obviously, definitely the statement was that this is a fine balance between what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And unfortunately for me, it's tipping in the way that this isn't acceptable. So I would find it very difficult to vote for this, hand on heart. So any other members wish to say anything? Can we have the recommendation, please, Matt? Councillor Yule? No?
Certainly, Chairman. That's now on its way.
Can we have the recommendation on the screen? Just waiting for the recommendation to come on the screen. Okay, members, if you can take a second to look at that recommendation, please. Do we have not the conditions lined up there, or we just got that there? That's all we have, is it? Okay. So the recommendation is for approval subject to conditions outlined, obviously, in our report. Do I have a proposer for that recommendation? Raise your hand if I have a proposer. I have no proposer. So I presume if I have no proposer, I have no seconder. So now we have to go on to a separate recommendation, which will be a recommendation to refuse. And we need to have some words for that refusal. I see that Councillor Yule has her hands up. Councillor Yule, do you have a new recommendation?
No, I don't.
Okay, right. I can give you some words for one. This is finely balanced, this application. And I think for every reason that the officer has got it for approval, is probably a reason for refusal. So we need to pick some key policy points. So I think DM21 and SP15 are good points, and they are the policy numbers that the Town Council primarily object to this application by, which is DM21 and SP15. It is also contrary to para 127 of the National Planning Policy Framework. There are some points from the local draft plan. I'm not sure if I wish to use those. This is going to come in a minute. I sometimes and always believe that less is more. And DM21 is a very strong policy to put this down to refusal on. Liz, you wish to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Can I just, in terms of drafting a reason for refusal, gauge what the issue is, particularly of members? I note that the Town Council have concerns over design, and you've obviously got the comments of the Principal Conservation Officer to weigh against that.
Who himself says it's a fine balance.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's fine, Chair. There is also the issue raised by the neighbour with regards to overlooking. So to understand what the concerns of members are to help officers actually write a strong reason for refusal, Chair.
Okay, I've got Councillor Bird's got his hand up. Would you want some input, Councillor Bird?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I've refrained from involving myself in the discussion up to now. I wanted to hear all points of view. If the majority is for refusal, which it seems that's the way the committee is going, I'm certainly willing to go with a refusal. It's just I would have difficulty in voting refusing for a refusal which made reference to design. The thing that swung me in accepting a refusal proposition is the aspect of overlooking. I would find it personally a little bit more contentious to include design. I think it's an innovative design, could be rather facetious and say, albeit with a very small library. I think they ought to have a larger library, but I was just being...
So yours is more to do with public amenity then?
Yes, I mean, I think I go with the conservation officer that it's an exciting and innovative design. I would be happier if our refusal focused merely on the aspect of overlooking that has been raised by the neighbour objecting, rather than including design, but that's my own view.
Okay, I've got some input now from Councillor Deacon. I'm sure between all of us we will very shortly come to a recommendation. Councillor Deacon.
I would just like to say that I thoroughly agree with what Councillor Bird has just said. For me, it is the overlooking aspect, and I think the design of the building looks actually very superior and quite acceptable, but not when it causes overlooking the neighbour like we've heard.
Okay, actually, Councillor Yule, how do you feel about that one?
As the ward member, I would totally agree with that statement. I think the design is very good, but the overlooking aspects, etc., is the one that sways it for me.
Okay, so we just want to hang our hats on that then. Liz, can you give us a new recommendation?
I can. It would be what I can do, Chair, is with the assistance case officer get some wording together to agree with you before the decision notice is finalised, but it would be reliant on policy DM23 of the local plan, which relates to residential amenity.
Okay, all right. Do I have a proposal for that, please?
I would like to propose that, Chairman.
Councillor Yule. Councillor Deacon's hand is up next to second.
I'm happy to second.
Okay, so we have a proposer and a seconder. Now we need to go to the vote. Catherine, are you ready for the vote?
Thank you, Chairman. Members, once again, I will call your name alphabetically. Can you please indicate clearly if you're voting for, against or abstaining for the revised recommendation as proposed and seconded? Councillor Allen?
For.
Councillor Bird?
For.
Councillor Deacon?
For.
Councillor Fryatt?
For.
Councillor Hedgley?
For.
Councillor McCallum?
For.
Councillor Yule?
For.
Thank you, Chairman. That's carried by unanimously.
Okay, the application was refused. We're going to go on to our next application. I think we all feel that we can do that. Councillor Blundell has not returned. He's left the room, hasn't he, Matt?
He has disconnected from the waiting room, Chairman, and has not reconnected at this time. Chairman,
Okay.
can I just remind you, I just need to move Councillor Allen into the waiting room, and she's declared a pecuniary interest.
Yeah, I was then going to come on to that. Councillor Allen, before you go into the, well, you can go into the waiting room now, actually, Councillor Allen, yeah. Sorry, everybody, about Councillor Blundell, but I think that was the right thing to do. For all those watching, these are legal meetings, and we are making legal decisions. Councillor Allen, will you move into the waiting room?
Councillor Allen is now in the waiting room, Chairman.
Okay, we're now going on to item 8. And this application is before us because Councillor Allen is involved in this application, correct?
That's correct. Councillor Allen is a director of the applicant company.
For anybody watching.
Sorry.
For anybody watching. What did you want to say?
I was just saying that was the reason for it being at committee.
Yes. So for anybody watching, this is what normally happens if it's an application of one of the committee members or somebody that works for the council. The application will automatically be brought to the committee for scrutiny. basically, just to make sure everything is done out in the open. We can carry on.
Okay, thank you. So the application is for the erection of 5 new dwellings and associated parking on land east of the water tower at Spritesall Lane in Trimley St Mary. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is the application site. That is the Doxburgh roundabout in the site there, the A14 to the north. The application site is outlined in orange, in pink hatching, at the end of Spritesall Lane, which is a private road off High Road in Trimley. The round building in orange close to the site is the water tower. I can have the next slide, please. So looking at photos of the site, this is looking from Spritesall Lane down the access track which would serve the development towards the water tower. You'll note there's some existing development on the left-hand side of the track where the proposed application site is to the right. I could have the next one, please. Thank you. This is looking back from towards the water tower end of the site, towards Spritesall Lane. And the application site is behind the small wooden fence at the front of the site and in between the taller metal fence towards the rear. It's a long, thin site. So I have the next one, please. Another view, the Spritesall Road up end of the site, looking towards the site. The A14 is just behind those trees on the right-hand side of the photo, and there's existing residential development to the rear that you'll see in that photo. And the next one, please. These are the existing properties on the opposite side of the access track to the water tower. They will face over the development site. And the next one, please. Okay, there is an extant consent on this site for 6 dwellings, and these plans are showing what there is an extant consent for. The application has come about because there is a mains running through the site. That means that this particular design and layout wouldn't be possible without moving those mains. So just to give you an idea, that's the example elevation of one of the properties previously given consent, and a layout which is again being given consent previously of 3 pairs of semi-detached properties along the site with a shared car park area. We can move on to the next one, please. Thank you. So this is the proposed, and there's just a summary of the main changes there. Obviously, the main thing is that the application is now for 5 dwellings compared to the 6 previously. The black hashed area is the line of the mains running through the site. So you'll notice that all development is avoiding that area. So the parking area is now proposed on the narrowest part of the site, the east, and there'll be plot 1 is a detached 3-bed dwelling, and plots 2, 3, 4, and 5 are semi-detached, very similar to what has been previously proposed and approved. Could I have the next plan, please? So just running through the plans and elevations of the dwellings. This is type 1 of the semi-detached properties. Again, fairly similar to that previously considered, just 3-bed dwellings. And the next one, please. This is the other type of semi-detached dwellings, a longer plan form in this case, but again, similar in design and appearance to the others. And the next one, please. And finally, this is the detached dwelling, again, similar in design and appearance, but this property is detached. Can I have the next slide, please? So yeah, there is an extant consent on the site for 6 dwellings. So the main consideration in this application is whether the 5 is acceptable and any changes in design and layout would be acceptable. The principle has been established and there are conditions to control the usual things in terms of parking areas and ecology, I think, in this case. If I can have the next slide, please. That takes us to the recommendation, which includes those conditions which are in full in your report.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Do we have any questions of the officer, please? No? Oh, yep, we do. Councillor Fryer. Councillor Fryer.
I'm just interested in the extent. Sorry? Oh. I was interested in the extant planning consent that you're talking about. I just wondered whether it wasn't just in outline, was it? It was a full planning consent.
It was full, yes.
Okay. No other questions. Councillor Kerry is in the room. Is Councillor Kerry wishing to speak as a ward member, or are you just observing, Councillor Kerry?
I wish to speak, please, Madam Chairman.
You wish to speak, yes?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
I will let you speak then.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I welcome this development at the end of Sprites Hall Lane, but I have to mention that I've been contacted by the Residents Association. Sprites Hall Lane is an unadopted road, which is looked after by the residents of Sprites Hall Lane. I've spoken to the office and I know it is not can't be a condition of planning, but I'd just like to put on record that I'd like the developer to still keep in contact with the Residents Association, and any damage that may occur from vehicles accessing the site and going up and down Sprites Hall Lane during the construction period are made good afterwards. I think that's a matter of goodwill between the actual developer and the residents of Sprites Hall Lane. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kerry. Rachel, we can do that, can't we? We can have a conversation. We can't enforce it and we can't condition it, but we can ask, can't we?
I can put it on as an informative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But who would like to kick debate off? Councillor Yule?
Yes, I'd just like to say I think it's a delightful little development. I actually prefer this version to the previous version. I think it's just the sort of houses that first-time buyers want, and I think it ought to be applauded.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yule. Anybody else wish to say anything? Rachel, we'll go to the recommendation then, please.
Okay, that is to approve, subject to the conditions set out in your report.
Do I have a proposer, please? Councillor Hedgley, a seconder. Councillor Fry, all those in favour. Catherine will go around the room.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, if I can call your name alphabetically, please indicate clearly if you are voting for, against or abstaining on the recommendation as proposed and seconded. Councillor Bird. Sorry, Councillor Bird, I didn't quite catch that.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Deacon.
For.
Councillor Fryatt.
For.
Councillor Hedgley. Councillor McCallum.
For.
Councillor Yule.
For.
Thank you, Chairman. That is carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. We have now concluded the business on today's agenda. I would like to thank everyone for attending today, both those who participated in the meeting via Zoom and those of you that have viewed the meeting via YouTube. I'll now close the meeting and ask the meeting host to end the live feed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, can I just ask everybody to remain on mute until I've confirmed that the feed has ended? Thank you.